Tierra del Fuego, America's wild south, a land of fire at the end of the world. Located between Chile and Argentina. At its southernmost tip, South America ends in a confusion of islands and in the granite rocks of storm-beaten Cape Horn. We visit the Argentinian section of Fireland and arrive at Ushuaia, the southernmost town in the world and the gateway to Antarctica. It's a small town that has experienced a great boom in recent years. Due to its being a tax haven, it's brought in much industry. Including a tourist center, because from Fireland the islands are readily accessible and trips are available to Antarctica. It's difficult to believe that not long ago, nothing but the wooden huts of Anglican missionaries stood here, those who introduced Christianity to the Fireland Indians in 1869. The main street is a shopping street with lively traffic, much noise and a few hotels. A typical Maine provincial town. Both small and, more recently, large buildings form a kind of patchwork. Colourful wooden houses, pretty colonial structures, shanties and a number of large concrete buildings. The town is a combination of mountain village and fjord settlement. Much of it dates back to the first settlers of this region. The view from above the sheltered bay and harbour indicates why the first Europeans laid anchor here. However, the archipelago was settled far earlier. Around 10,000 years ago, the first humans settled here. And it was then that Fireland was separated from the mainland. The Museo Territorial is contained within one of the town's oldest buildings. Although its display rooms are somewhat small, the exhibits more than compensate. A display of stuffed wildlife features the large variety of species that inhabit this region's barren, natural landscape. The history of this former prison island is also on show, and well documented with old photographs, paintings, and various tools. The 4 tribes of the region's primeval inhabitants are also featured: the Ona, the Haush, Alakaluf, and Yamana. Explorers are also included, such as Fernão de Magalhães, who wrote his way into the history books in 1520 when he discovered what became known as the Magellan Strait. In the small front garden of the museum, various tools are displayed. The nearby Museo YAMANA focuses on the YAMANA tribe that no longer exists. But more about this later. Small models demonstrate the life of the YAMANA. They were nomads and fished in the sea close to the Beagle Canal. In boats constructed of tree bark, the naked primeval inhabitants navigated the stormy waters to hunt sea lion, seal, and penguin. those days, the slopes were forested, and the nomads built their camps out of branches, leaves, and moss as protection against the freezing weather. GOUVENOR House, a traditional building, is now a museum that features the history of the town. There are amazing maps of both land and sea, true masterpieces of a bygone age. The large assembly hall is quite impressive, a place in which the region's government once sat and where the courts of law were located. Further rooms contain various objects that one wouldn't expect to have been used in this distant place at the end of the world, including old telephones, typewriters, and sewing machines. Ushuaia surprises at every corner. The small town contains many sights, but it's the unusual variety of things to see that makes its charm. A mixture of colour and liveliness, but also of bleak decay. The town's most impressive building complex is situated on a slope below snow-covered mountains with a view across the town and harbour. The Museo Presidio and MARITIMO. Outside the restored and yellow shining walls is a small train engine whose history we will soon come to know. The route to the main prison leads through the exhibition rooms of the Maritimo Museum, whose theme is the role of Argentina in Antarctica. Models of old sailing ships, messages in bottles, and old maps are on display. It's a reminder of numerous great explorers, as well as the Antarctica of today that is protected by international law. Next we enter Presidio Prison, a dark chapter of Tierra del Fuego's historic past. The prison was inaugurated in 1902. "360 hardened criminals in yellow-blue striped clothing were forced to build the prison, a monumental chamber of horrors. Prisoners were kept in cruel, tiny cells from which few survived. They worked outside, building streets, bridges, and various buildings. So originated the southernmost railway line in the world for the transport of stone from the stone pitchers. In addition to sheep farmers, it was the prison's criminals who were the first settlers in Ushuaia and on Tierra del Fuego. Quite a mix. The tour to HARBERTON farm is a popular excursion. The journey from Ushuaia in an easterly direction along the Beagle Canal initially travels along an asphalt road, accompanied by snow-covered mountains. The first stop in Terra Valle Mayor features Siberian huskies and a guest house with an adjoining husky breeding station. Here various breeds are reared and everything is done to breed huskies with the best possible characteristics. Antarctic winter, many visitors come to explore the large plains of the valley by dog sledge. Breeding is highly successful, and the dogs are very well looked after and live a happy life. Next, we travel in a northeasterly direction. The gravel road is in quite good condition. It travels through swampland and past small lakes. Sometimes the water of the lakes reflects the sunlight, but most of the time, dark clouds dominate the scene. Again and again, Beagle Canal comes into view, and in a remote bay, people collect seashells. The strange vegetation is evocative of a fairy tale landscape. Like spider webs, odd-looking lichen grows on the trees. Tierra del Fuego means primeval, untouched nature. It gives the impression that the world was created only yesterday. The trees up high are shaken by the wind and look like flags, flags waiting to wave in the wind. These witnesses to the wind that blows across this island realm at the end of civilization are one of the region's landmarks. The Beagle Canal accompanies us to the end of the road, HARBERTON Farm. Close to the farm there's a small but very popular museum, the Museo ACATUSHUN. Outside the museum are the skeletons of numerous whales. In the main display room, skeletons of various animals are depicted by a picture of their true life appearance in shadow. So the animals look almost lifelike. Suddenly we're surrounded by many varieties of whale. This simple but impressive exhibition makes us want to experience the whale in its natural surroundings. The museum also contains a small research station and accommodation. Renowned Anglican Reverend Thomas Bridges once stood up for the region's primeval inhabitants and founded the ESPERANZA HARBERTON, in which he lived with them. Far away from Ushuaia, he attempted to prepare a group of YAMANA to gradually adapt to the civilization of the white man, supported by the Argentine government. However, his efforts were in vain. The last YAMANA died in 1977 in Ushuaia, perishing from cold on the steps of the town's social welfare offices. Today, the descendants of the Bridges family continue to run this sheep farm. Guests are always welcome, and small excursion boats embark here to various islands. There are about 60 farms on the Argentine mainland, with between 8 and 70,000 sheep. Around 8 kilometers outside Ushuaia is a small timber-built train station. It's another popular tourist attraction. From here, a narrow-gauge railway leads to the Tierra del Fuego National Park. This is a must for every tourist. Everywhere there are reminders of the former penal colony. Yet it was the prisoners who built this railroad for the transport of stone and trees from the stone pitches. As the train departs, the small engine steams and toots and slowly rolls out of the station. Our short journey begins. The small train lazily crosses the plains as the line meanders through the landscape. It's a wonderful journey. Alongside a winding river. After about 45 minutes, we reach the terminus. Passengers exit the train smiling and contented and take another glance at the small carriages and steam engine that are neatly cared for by the railway's engineers. Now we're among pure nature, at the end of the world. The Tierra del Fuego National Park was founded in 1960, and it's very accessible with roads, campsites, and numerous resting places. The Rio Pipo snakes through the landscape that contains plains, forests, and ponds. Over 63,000 hectares cover the border with Chile, surrounded by snow-covered mountains that survey the landscape. From time to time, the small train comes into view, winding and snorting through the natural landscape, with only one destination: the end of the world. The 6-kilometer-long railway line does no harm to either flora or fauna. As if in paradise, wild white horses rest amid the fantastic landscape. From the nearby mountains, the Rio Pipo flows in wild cascades into the plains. It demonstrates the might of nature, before calmly flowing out into the bay beyond. This is also the end of one of the most famous roads in the world, the legendary Panamericana, that travels from Alaska to Tierra del Fuego. A marvelous place, a confusion of small, steep-sided islands, and in the background, snow-covered mountains. Several wooden pathways make it easy to walk to the sea. This is the furthermost tip of the South American mainland. Further paths lead through various meadows to a nearby vantage point. The short journey is slippery, but well worth the effort. From here, the end of the world can be seen in all its glory. The first Europeans thought that Tierra del Fuego extended to as far as the South Pole. journey along the Beagle Canal is a particularly worthwhile experience. In Port Ushuaia, boats begin an excursion into the fascinating natural landscape. From this harbour, many cruise ships embark on their journey to Antarctica. The canal was named after Charles Darwin's ship, the Beagle. The Beagle Canal was vital for navigation because it made it unnecessary to travel round the stormy and highly treacherous Cape Horn. On our journey along the canal, we think of the flickering fires that Magellan saw when he gave the land its name, Fireland. From amid the water rises a mighty rock, the Isla de los Parayaros and Los Lobos. Here, South American sea lions enjoy life in their harem. These massive animals can weigh more than 500 kilograms and live with up to 9 females as a group. Although the boats pass close to the rocky islands, the seals, the sea lions and the cormorants remain totally unfazed. The ice-cold water on the border of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans provides sufficient food for the numerous wildlife in this region. Following its discovery, this bleak, primeval landscape did not attract interest for centuries, and storms and rain are commonplace here. But today, international tourism has discovered this remote end of the world. A rock appears. A small lighthouse was built here, the Faro Les Éclaireurs. Its light guided ships safely into Ushuaia harbour, a necessary measure due to the gale-force winds that obscure visibility caused by heavy rain and violent, icy conditions. The boat approaches our main destination, Penguin Island, where this wonderful creature lives safe and secure. Only a handful of people are allowed to go to the island, closely supervised by a guide and sticking to well-defined pathways. Everyone else must observe the penguins from aboard ship. It's fun to watch the Magellan Penguins, who actually bray like donkeys as they waddle along in true penguin-like comical fashion. Tranquil nature and remoteness dominate this unique landscape. This, the southernmost tip of planet Earth that is not covered by eternal ice. Where once brave explorers far from civilization discovered new land, today ecotourism is flourishing. Hopefully, it will always be an adventure to come here, on this journey to Fireland, at the end of the world.